Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. Let me make sure that, I'm kind of late and I'm trying to make sure that all the bells and whistles are working correctly. I need to make sure that my restreamer is on and that it has the right parameters in there because, like I said, we're running kind of behind. Yeah. Oh, no. The streamer had the wrong code in there, which I need to fix. I need to fix that code. I think I got it fixed, but I don't know if it's going to make it in time. I am probably going to have to bear with me, guys, as I make a very important fix to our coding. I think I'm going to have to, let's see, go ahead and get that here. PD, what is it? PD, bear with me a second. PDRI. I got to get that link. I am going to put another link in the feed. I hope I hope all of it is going to stay the same. Bear with me though, guys, because we are having a little bit of technical difficulties that we are solving right now to make sure that the show gets queued correctly, because right now it has not been queued correctly. So I'm about to do that. I think I'm going to, I need to do pound PDRI. Okay. I am going to be with you guys in a minute. That we're going to be able to get it done. Let me get one more thing fixed here, and then I think we will be okay. That is what happens when you're, like I tell you, I need help. I think this is going to solve the problem now. I think the queue is going to get handled now. Let me switch back to the other queue and we'll be okay. Anyway, how are my peeps doing? Welcome aboard. Yvette Avery Herod, how are you doing, my beautiful lady? Michael Rudnin is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. Yvette Avery from Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. We also have in the house, para ver, May Wood from Long Beach, California. I think I got them all. Yvette says she's definitely tired. Yvette, we're just at hump day. Melanie Keelan just made it into the house from Barcelona, Spain. We also have in the house Steigen Burger Greek. How you doing? Gene Deigel, good day. PDR, watching from Alvin, Texas. Whoop whoop. Love Alvin. Closer to Galveston, closer to the beach. All right, we have E2247. E2247, I talked about you on my morning show this morning, trying to reiterate that the good job that you're doing to force us to keep Gaza on our minds. Thank you for doing that. I mentioned you this morning on air, KPFT 90.1 FM Houston and Pacifica Network. Anyway, folks, let's see what else we got here. Para ver qué más tenemos que hacer aquí. Let's see, anybody else came in. E2247 was the last person to come in. All right. Look, I want to dispel the crap. Donald Trump is trying to do a revolution on our government. He's bringing in a lot of inept people to run our government. At the same time, he's talking about making all these big changes. But the reality is that there were no changes, or rather, he didn't get the vote that necessitated or that gave any of those changes any credence. I repeat, hi, Lee Grant, just saw you in as well from Montgomery County. Donald Trump won the elections. We're not taking that away from him. But a mandate he does not have. They didn't want to give Obama a mandate who won the election by over 7 points. They didn't want to give Biden a mandate who won by over 7 million votes. And here we have Donald Trump barely winning over 2 million votes, less than 2 percentage points, and he wants to go out there and talk about a mandate. Let's go ahead and take that down a bit. So don't fall for it, people. Do not fall for him getting his way because he claims he has a mandate he does not have. Donald Trump is trying to govern as if he won a supermajority. In fact, he's trying to govern as if he won the election by a substantial margin. The truth of the matter is, Donald Trump didn't win the election. The progressive volume of voting lost the election. And if you doubt it, you just have to look at the numbers. Imagine this. Donald Trump is going to win with a smaller number than Hillary Clinton won when she lost the Electoral College to him. In other words, Hillary Clinton's popular vote will be larger than Donald Trump's win. That is how crazy this system with the Electoral College is. There is a differential of think about this. When Donald Trump won with a negative 3 million votes, he won a very large electoral win, similar to the electoral win that he has right now. And that's more than a 5 million vote differential, with the Electoral College staying the same and the person who actually won. Think about that. Think about that. But more importantly, Donald Trump was a very slim under 2-point win. And he wants to call that a mandate. And he wants to claim that gives him the ability to do all these things. When, if you want to look at what a current mandate looked like, look at when Obama won in 2008 and look at when Biden won in 2020. And Republicans didn't want to call that a strong win. Obama won by 7 points. Biden won by, I think, 4 or 5 points? Think about that. Donald Trump would have won by less than half that. And he thinks he has a mandate. And many are allowing him to get away with believing he had or has a mandate. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
It's now been 2 weeks since the election, and because of the pace at which California counts its votes, it is only now that we basically have a near final vote tally for the entire election. And guess what? Yes, Donald Trump won the election, won the popular vote. He will be the next president. There's no question about that. It's also one of the narrowest popular vote wins in U.S. history. He got less than half the votes cast. That's right, he won a plurality, but not win an outright majority. He won by about 2.5 million votes out of more than 150 million cast, meaning his lead over Kamala Harris in the popular vote is down to about 1.6%. In fact, take a look at this chart. It shows the margin of victory in the popular vote for every presidential election going back to 2000. As you can see here, Trump's margin of victory this month was the smallest of anyone who actually won their election and won the popular vote. Although he did get a higher share than Al Gore, who lost. Trump even won the popular vote, get this, by less than Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016. Not only was Trump's victory historically narrow, but Democrats also did surprisingly well in down ballot races for a losing side. Yes, they lost 3 Senate seats in Ohio, West Virginia, Montana, states that Trump won by huge margins. It's kind of the result you would expect. But Democrats also managed to eke out 4 Senate victories in swing states that Trump won: Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona. And that's not really what you'd expect. I mean, in 2016 and 2020, get this, Democrats didn't win any Senate races in states Trump won. This time they won 4. Trump didn't really offer Republicans much in the way of coattails to ride. Just look at the House, where the balance of power is going to remain essentially unchanged. In fact, if the current House results hold and Trump succeeds in getting confirmation for his cabinet nominees who sit in Congress, the GOP is on track for the smallest House majority since there were 50 states. Okay, so let's take a step back. Keep all this in mind. As you hear Trump and his supporters suggest, the election was this enormous wave in which a transformation swept across the country, in which Americans were just begging for a full MAGA makeover. That's the line Republicans are selling, and lots in the mainstream media are granting it weirdly in various ways. But it's just plainly not true. And we've gone through this before. I mean, just compare all the postmortems in the past 2 weeks about what the American people really wanted when Trump won by 1.6 points nationally. Compare that with the postmortems we got in 2016 after Hillary Clinton beat him by 2.1% nationally, but lost the Electoral College.
Why do you think she did so poorly with white working class voters?
Well, first of all, I don't think as a party we spent, look.
There were still many college-educated women who either came home to the Republican Party or found themselves voting for Trump.
We need to be attentive to the fact that we have a big problem with middle-class white voters that we haven't been paying attention to.
The Democrats have a huge moment of reckoning here. I don't know how they're going to come out of it. I don't know what they're going to learn from it. But this path they're on right now is unsustainable.
It's basically the same stuff. And again, fair enough, they lost the election. But the narrative that was built out of this was about how the real Americans wanted Trump and how can you be so out of touch. And now it's all the same stuff about Americans wanting Trump and everyone else. The other half of the country is just out of touch. It's all ludicrous. We're talking about tiny fluctuations, tiny portions of the electorate switching votes. And as best we can tell, like in the last minute, in the last week. And again, those votes matter, right? This is how we run the democracy, right? 50+1 or the Electoral College. They're what gave Trump a victory. It's why he'll be the next president. All this matters. It matters for Democrats that they figure out how to win elections and not lose them. That matters a lot. But again, when we're talking about like, what is the new picture of the American soul? I mean, generally what we know is that people really felt like the country was on the wrong track. Late deciders did not like the economy, particularly higher prices. They felt squeezed. They wanted something different. But it's absurd to read that as a mandate for the absolute avalanche of insanity that Trump and Republicans are planning for his second administration. And it's a lot, and it's really nuts. From the plan to use the military to forcibly expel millions of migrants from the country and possibly imprison people in blue states who don't comply with their deportations, to getting rid of birthright citizenship, which is written into the 14th Amendment, to using and abusing the Department of Justice as a tool for retribution against perceived political enemies, to using the FCC to threaten media that's critical of Trump, to threatening the health and well-being of trans people and women, driving the prices of virtually everything up with tariffs on the goods people buy every day. That's real. They're good. I think they're going to do it. Now, Kamala Harris had a line in her campaign speeches about how she would start day one with a to-do list and Trump would start with an enemies list. And I think we're seeing she was right. And ultimately she lost. But also there was no mandate in this election for an enemies list. Okay. There was a mandate for cheaper gas and cheaper eggs. But Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for cheaper eggs. What he has plans for is to let an unelected Elon Musk run roughshod over the government and every other crazy Project 2025 right-wing fever dream along with Trump's personal grievances. At a certain point, there's going to be a reckoning, I'm telling you, over the distance between what swing voters who gave Trump this majority were voting for and what they're about to get.
What mandate is he talking about? Again, think about what Chris Hayes just spoke about there. It is important. It is important that we understand the scam. They think by saying things and repeating things over and over, it's going to jam people into saying, oh my God, Donald Trump won a big election. Look, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not giving the man his due. He won the election. The man won the election, but it was a very thin win. It was a very thin win. It wasn't the kind of win that Joe Biden had. It wasn't the kind of win that Obama had. It was a very thin win. And it was no mandate because the people weren't voting for all these things. The people weren't voting for a government that doesn't work. The people weren't voting to put a whole lot of TV stars to run major organizations. That is political malpractice. That is immorality. That is all these things, knowing that you have serious or agencies that you will have taken over by a whole bunch of charlatanes. Makes no sense. But you know what? Donald Trump is using all of his quote unquote capital now. The sad thing about it is later on he may need it. He won't have it.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join. And by the way, CSAC, listen to what CSAC says. This is comical. Gene, I was part of a group that went over the public information on the 2020 election and found huge amounts of fraud. It's Democrats that were on denial, but attacked anyone went into audit elections, which is what guilty people do. No, false, and false. These elections were audited and there were paper trails. You guys are nuts. And every time you mention that, Gene, or rather CSAC, your credibility, which isn't very good already, because the truth of the matter is, to most sensible people you come across kind of cuckoo, like a sycophant, I think is a word for it. And I'm saying that with the most respect. I love you, but you are a sycophant. You are a sycophant that doesn't live in Earth, the original on Earth. I'm sorry, brother. You simply cannot see reality. But that's okay. You're here every day, and I love you for being here. That's it. Folks, realize this. These people that continue to create these stories about Donald Trump, it's a mental problem. I say this with respect. It's a mental problem. By the way, there are some people on the left that has this mental problem. There's a group right now on the left that's trying to create the same mirror image of MAGA claiming that this election was stolen by Donald Trump. The election was not stolen by Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the election with deception, but he won. People heard his lies. They were gullible enough to believe the lies, and they voted for him. It's a democracy, and we have free speech. It's incumbent on us, progressives, on Politics Done Right, on TYT, on Daily Kos, on Damage Report, and on all these other third-party independent news organizations to go out there and fix the record, correct the record, and neutralize what has made people like my brother CSAC here mentally ill. And I say that with respect. But if you cannot see facts, if you cannot see reality, even as it's staring you in your face, my friend, I would like to suggest that you go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Which one? I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that to get you healthy, mentally healthy. That's why I'm saying that, to get you mentally healthy. Voting for Kamala was not compelling enough. I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, I don't know how one can have. Look, anytime people tell me I didn't vote for Kamala because, and then I say, did you vote? And they say, yes, I voted for Trump. I ask, what is the because that made you vote for Trump? How could you vote for such a defective species? How could you vote for that and look at your kids in their eyes? How could you vote for that and believe that you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or whatever? How can you vote for that? Honestly, how can you vote for that again, I repeat, anybody who voted for Trump, and I said this before the election, I will still love you. I will still hold a level of respect for you as a human being, but I will see you as someone that's mentally untrustworthy because and morally problematic. Honestly. And I say that to my family as well who voted for Trump. I have a new way of looking at you. And that new way of looking at you is not a positive thing. But because you're a human being, I still love you. And I'm not, that is not just imaginary. I really mean it. Because if I am to beat the lies that have damaged your minds, I am going to have to be able to get over it. That's what I'm going to have to do. And you're right, Bruce, failure to vote, you're right. But a lot of that failure to vote, Bruce, has a lot to do with even progressives having a problem voting for a woman as the leader of the country, and they didn't want to take the blame. You'll see the study that I point out in the next video that Chris Hayes is going to talk about. But I mean, again, it is sad. It is very, very, very sad that people just don't understand that they've been had. And unfortunately, I think, I'll be honest with you, I'll be frank. Our good friend Mike Cisak, who is on and on with this voter fraud and all this crap, all you have to do is go and you can do any informal poll and figure out that nobody likes Trump. There was nothing it wasn't surprising that he didn't get the popular vote. The only reason he got the popular vote this time is that he was running against a black woman. And the economy was not bad enough for them to vote for a person that they find, I don't know if I want, that they are uncomfortable with. When Obama ran, they were sufficiently hurting economically that they're on discomfort with a black man running the country was not superseded by their economic pain. But while everybody wanted to use economic issues as the reason for voting for Donald Trump, because, maybe he will do something for the economy, the truth is people are spending like crazy. People are the economy is fine. Even for the poorest person, they are. If you want to know the mental illness again, Mike Cisak, Kamala isn't black. That is what you call completely taken up and absorbed by the right-wing nutcase, aka Howard University. Oh, she's not black though. Anyhow, I want you to listen to this video. This one is another important video that will point some of the things that I was just talking about, Brother Bruce. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. The media continues to spin the election as if it was a great win for Donald Trump. We all know that isn't true. In the previous videos that I've made, I pointed out that Donald Trump is going to have one of the lamest victories, and nothing compared to the victory that Barack Obama had, nothing compared to the victory that Biden had, which was quite a few million votes in difference. He's going to have a little bit north of 2 million votes, if that many. And again, when it comes to percentages, it's going to be under 2%. So it's a very slim win that Donald Trump is going to have. Yet he believes he has a mandate, and he's out there telling folks the reason he's going to do all these things is because he has a mandate, and he has all his surrogates and sycophants out there talking about a mandate. Well, this little piece here, first of all, breaks it down further, not only by popular vote, but pointed out that the people who voted for Kamala Harris were the people who were paying attention. The people who don't read and who get news from Fox News or the other places are the ones who voted for Donald Trump. In other words, the ill-informed voted for Donald Trump. Those who were most informed voted for Kamala Harris. I want you to listen to this because it's not only talking about the realities, but also about how this effectuality was actually covered. And I want you to listen to what the young lady had to say as well, because the media has to stop sanitizing the news and tell it like it is. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Is the sharp differences among voters in how closely they follow political news. Important, but maybe not so surprising when you see the data. Look at this. Voters who said they pay a great deal of attention to national political news went for Vice President Kamala Harris by a margin of 6 points, according to Data for Progress. At the other end of the scale, voters who said they pay no attention to national political news went for Donald Trump by 19 points. And it is those folks, the folks who say they just don't read or watch any political news, who helped give Trump his slim majority, and who I think may be in for the biggest shock by the difference between what they thought Trump would do in a second term and what it looks like he's going to do. Alexi McCammon is a political analyst who hosts the In Sync with Alexi podcast. Jamel Bowie is an opinion columnist for the New York Times, where he recently wrote about whether Trump voters know about the future he has planned for them, and they join me now. Jamel, since this was the topic of your most recent column, I'll just ask you first if you think there's a distance between what this sort of crucial sliver of voters that gave him the win sort of conceived of their vote as being for, and what Trump is going to give them in return.
I think there's going to be a wide distance. I think they really do conceive of their vote as being principally about change. They associate Trump with 2017 to 2019 with pre-pandemic America. And I think the assumption is that Trump will come in and through some mechanism, he'll lower the price of groceries, he'll lower the price of homes, and so on and so forth. Of course, that's not going to happen. There's no item on the Trump policy agenda that would allow for those things to happen. And in fact, it's the opposite, as you pointed out, that what's on the Trump policy agenda are moves that will raise the price of the goods that people say they want lowered. And so I don't think we should treat this as sort of like an automatic thing, right? Like voters aren't automatically going to blame Trump if prices go up. But the fact that prices may well go up if Trump does what he says he's going to do is an opportunity for Trump's opponents to begin or to really emphasize that people are not getting what they paid for.
And obviously, Alexi, like there's no look in a sort of in this broad system of representative democracy we have. It's not like voters have particular views on a whole bunch of things. It's just the way it works. So I don't want to sort of hold an unfair standard here, but just it is striking to me that the talk about what swing voters said, why they were voting for Trump, and then this kind of like the Project 2025 example being the clearest, right? Like in polling, people really hated it. It had a worse approval rating than Hamas at one point in some of the polling. They disavowed it. And now you've got like the guy that wrote the FCC chapter, who they want to run the FCC, and a whole bunch of agenda items from Project 2025 being imported into the government.
Yeah, I think it's really tricky because I think a lot about how people regard their feelings as facts. And we all know that feelings are not facts, but that is especially true when it comes to politics. That's especially true when it comes to something like crime, which I know we all have talked about at different points. But even when crime rates are going down, people are still crying about crime running amok. Consumers have been spending as if the economy is not as bad as they have been saying it is. And so that's another example. I mean, real wages have been going up higher than the rate of inflation. That's another example of that dissonance. And so it's clearer than ever that people are looking for someone to confirm their feelings. And we've heard some Democrats say this too, that Trump ultimately gave voters a better explanation sort of why things have been feeling so crappy economically and financially for a lot of people, even if that explanation was complete nonsense. And so I think that's what's tricky for Democrats moving forward is how do you maintain and respect reality while also respecting the feelings that people have, which ultimately lead to these decisions that we're talking about tonight.
There's also this question too about, the information environment, which we keep going back to, Jamel, and in that Data for Progress info, which I thought was really interesting. And I want to be very clear on this. Like when someone says they don't pay attention to political news, that doesn't mean like they're dumb or ignorant or uninformed or not educated. Like this is just about whether this is the kind of thing you pay attention to. I don't pay attention to hockey. Some people don't pay attention to political news. It kind of is what it is. But then the question becomes, when you nominate someone who's got a House ethics report about the allegations he slept with a minor, like, is there a universe in which that diffuses out into people? Because 20 years ago, I think it would, and it would be like politically damaging damaging. And I think the bet they're making now is that it won't.
I think that it can be. And I think that it can be, but only if Trump's opponents kind of take the initiative. There's this idea that I think Democrats still have, which is that you can let the bad news speak for itself. You can let the bad things speak for themselves, and you can keep your powder dry and only intervene when it's necessary. But what we've learned is that this is just not how the modern attention economy works anymore. That if you want people to pay attention to something, you have to shove it in front of their faces. You have to make them look at it. And so I think nominating Gates could be politically disadvantageous. I think the same for nominating Dr. Oz to lead the Center for Medicare and Medicaid organization. Those things can be politically damaging, but only if Democrats take the initiative to make them politically damaging.
Yeah, and there's space here, I should say, just to back up what I was saying before about Project 2025. This is the NBC poll of voters' views of it were negative 57, positive 4%. And then here's Data for Progress has been doing some post-election surveys on folks on like actual things Trump's saying. So like, should he just make all recess appointments? 54% of voters disapprove. The statement that RFK Jr. made that has said that vaccines cause autism, and there's a link between them. 59% of voters disagree. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And really, Alexi, it does strike me the question here is whether that gets communicated by both the media, by Democratic lawmakers, by other folks, and whether it gets heard by people, and ultimately whether political gravity exists here, particularly in the very early goings.
Yeah, and I think it is a lot about communication. And it's like Democrats started out by saying that, hey, these dudes are weird. And maybe we all should have known then that when we were all like, wow, this is the reality. This is the transparency we've been wanting them to talk with. But that simply was not enough. I mean, I was reading earlier today the reports from 2017 about Roy Moore, the Republican who ran for Senate in Alabama and almost won. And back then, everyone in the media was referring to him as a pedophile. And he was just like trying to pick up young girls at a mall. It is crazy that Democrats are not calling Matt Gaetz a pedophile or a child predator or worse, when just a few years ago, there was a big question about whether Roy Moore and his behavior would rock the Republican Party and they would never be able to come back from that. They will be able to come back from everything so long as everyone keeps sanitizing reality, the language we use to describe these things. I've said it before on TV. You cannot have sex with a minor. That is rape. There is no way a minor can give consent to having sex with anyone. And so it really takes Democrats just being honest and using careful but accurate language to describe these people, their behavior, and the standards that they're setting, not just for now, but for generations to come.
Again, let's be clear. There was no landslide. The people who voted for Kamala Harris are the ones who were informed. The people who voted for Donald Trump, well, you know where they got their information from. We all have a lot of work to do. Those of us that are real, that really care about the country and not just care about some ideological mumbo jumbo. Those of us that are really caring of what this country is to be. We have to continue to do our part. We can't just let things by. We have to continue to do our part. We have to stay engaged. And guess what, folks? 2022 is around the corner. And I foresee that, well, my predictions haven't been good. After all, I failed miserably with Kamala Harris. But I think things will get better.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join, folks. Support our program. We need your support desperately. That is how we are going to make the change, especially now that we have to climb the ladder again. And Bridge MCP, I love what you said. When you say, can you believe she's still having to defend herself, or they're still blaming her? No, I am not. First of all, yeah, I believe it. Women always get blame. And a lot of folks always get the blame when things go wrong. All right. Look, let me just tell you, I don't blame her. I already made clear the reason she lost. And while Michael Rudnin is correct when he said that had all the people who voted for Biden came and voted, that it would have been a different election. Soliloquy time. The Republicans would have you believe that most Americans are slouches. They'll have you believe that somehow the plutocracy, those people on top, they have to be watching every single American to make sure that you're out there busting your butt and working hard, and that everything that you ask for from we the people, your government, is a handout, and that no, you don't need any handouts. You need to go out there and work for it. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you something from somebody who's from Central America, from somebody who's been all over the world, from China to the Caribbean. Let me tell you something. The hardest workers I have ever seen in my life, bar none, are Americans. The least greedy people I've seen are Americans. But what is a problem is we are governed by psychopaths. And just like, we've heard about the good girl kind of having affinity for or kind of liking the bad guy when they're growing up, Sometimes you wonder, the good guy is sitting down there in class and, he treats the ladies well. And this, I swear I'm not being sexist. I'm just kind of hear me out. They some of the ladies kind of like the bad guys when they're growing up. But as they mature, they settle down and realize, you know what? The steady hand, the good person, the person who cares is what you want. That's how I look at America so often. Sometimes we go for that bad guy being male or female. Sometimes we go for that bad guy, not knowing deep inside that it's bad for us, but we keep doing it. Look, most Americans, I repeat, are hard workers, but most of the people who profit immensely, not the regular grocery store owner or the McDonald's franchise owner or the Whataburger franchise owner or the Burger King franchise owner. They're fine. They have a few $1 million in their pockets. They're fine. They're good people. They hire, etc. But the real parasites in our economy, the real people that take advantage of all of you outside, all of you within our country, are those psychopaths, those billionaires. And yes, most of our billionaires are psychopaths. I mean, no one person has earned $1 billion. No one person can make $1 billion. It is all what's known as excess labor. All the money they have is money denied you. But they would make you believe that they have some innate intelligence, some innate intellect that make them so good to be worth what they have. Because we have been programmed to believe that the way our economic system works is the best and is how things are rewarded. I am here to tell you it's not the case. When you go outside and you see that garbage man throwing the garbage into that truck, making minimum wage, making less than a living wage, and he makes or she makes your life more livable. Think of not having that person there and what happens to your street after a month, after a couple months. It becomes unlivable. Think about that person sweeping the floors. I mean, we have a tendency to believe we're worth more than we're worth. Oh, I'm an engineer. I make a lot of, well, not anymore, but, engineers make a good amount of money, right? And, you go out there and you go out of your office and there's a janitor there. And some of these guys would have a tendency to, look down at some of these folks, hey, I'm the engineer, I'm the lawyer, I'm the this, I'm the that. But get yourself in need of something and you realize how interdependent we are and how arbitrary what we pay, how we live really is. A teacher, the most important profession on the planet, bar none. I repeat, the teacher, the professor. These are the most important professions, bar none. They are the ones who move knowledge forward. Without the teacher, there ain't no engineer. Without the teacher, there ain't no doctor. Without the teacher, there ain't any of the things that make society move forward. Yet, the way we partake of funds, the teacher doesn't come close to being valued as they should. But the stockbroker, who is nothing but again, by definition, I want you guys to not just take my words. Think about the definition of, let's say, a parasite. A parasite is something dependent on something that is stable and sucks the life out of it, or sucks a lot. There are two kinds of parasites, right? There's a parasite that actually kills, and there's a parasite that is just dependent on. And in the case of the stockbroker, in the case of many professions that make a whole lot of money in our society because of the way we have defined things, these parasites are just dependent on but produce nothing. The stockbroker, dependent on but produces nothing. Many executives in corporations depend on but produces nothing. Yet they control our government, right? Because they pay the monies that they've stolen from you. And notice I've used the word stolen. And by the way, I mean that literally. The money they've stolen from you, they use and they bribe the politicians to get their will. So now that brother, and by the way, this is across party lines. I'm very frank. They both are owned by our corporate state. Every party is owned by our corporate state. Every single one. But the difference is at least the Democratic Party gives you some crumbs. At least you get some crumbs, right? At least we got the Affordable Care Act that most Americans, even though they were for a while, the evil ones tried to make you believe that something good for you was not good. You got it anyway, and now you can't live without it. And we have the new people back in power again. And it's all on again, as Jack was pointing out, with SNAP and all these other programs. Do you really think SNAP is a problem or being abused? Somebody finds 2 or 3 people who go and buy steaks with their SNAP or go buy all these expensive things with their SNAP. They highlight it, they make it a story, and they paste that on to every single person who's on SNAP. Food stamps. But you know what? If you want to know where the people are on food stamps, and if you want to know how much food stamps really cost compared to the tax cuts that they're given to wealthy people who are undeserving because said wealth was aimed or gotten on your back? No. But interestingly, we told you so. Before the election, we told you so. And I'm going to say we told you so. I think it is time for us to hold Americans accountable. We all have to be held accountable for our votes. But we told you so. Right now, and this is an article that Brother Jack was referencing. Remember, during the Trump administration, the first administration, he gave a huge tax cut. He made the tax cuts for corporations and wealthy people permanent. But the pennies, and notice I said pennies, because the tax cut that you got in the Trump administration, which was minute, few dollars a week, something you don't even see, was all eaten up by the increase in cost, not only by inflation. Well, every increase in cost is inflation. By the reduction that you got in services from your doctors and the larger deductibles that you paid, etc., it was all eaten up. It was all eaten up by that. In other words, the little tax cut that you folks got, we menial folks got, that was all eaten up. And guess what? Whenever we say that was eaten up by the extra deductibles that you pay, the extra costs in food, etc., that was saying the following. We gave the tax cut to the wealthy. We gave a little tax cut to the middle class. We raised the prices on the middle class, and the rich people took the money right back from the middle class in the form of higher prices that ate up their tax cut and any wage gain that they got. So once again, our masters got us, and we turn our butts and say, kick me one more time. Kick me one more time. At some time, America, we have to wise up to the game. we have to wise up to the game. They giveth and taketh away from the poor. They giveth and taketh away from the middle class. And it's only one class that makes it. You know, Dr. Theis, who, as part of the Houston Peace and Justice Center, we gave him an award, a Peacemaker Award, last weekend. And he came on to my 3:00 show, and we started talking about what's going to happen, etc. And he pointed out, you know, we have to change the narrative. People don't like to hear that it's class warfare, but it is time for us now to acknowledge that we are, in fact, having a class warfare, and the middle class and the lower classes are losing. A bigger part of the pie continues to go to the wealthy. And this is by design. And this is by design. This is by misleading you, disinforming you, and you making the wrong choices. The choices that continues year after year to take what you have earned, to take what you have earned. It's hard to accept, but in many of the other soliloquies that I've done, I've pointed out that the techniques are well known. The techniques that the plutocracy uses, the oligarchy uses, the wealthy, the people who control our economy uses. It uses all our insecurities to get it done. And in the case of the Kamala versus Trump election, they use to maximal effect gender, race, and the permanency of the patriarchy. This election had nothing to do with the economy. The economic message was simply a cover for people to be able to execute on their innate prejudices. That's the answer. All the complexities that you see on TV, the Democrats didn't come out with the right economic answer, and all these things, all of that is hogwash. None of that matters. It's all hogwash. But it turns out, I will say it once again, we told you so. And now that we have a new president-elect, and now that the policy that he is going to effect on day one is coming to fruition, remember, that is what we elected. I want to point out something that is very important. We are still a sexist and racist country. It is important that until we confront that reality, Trump and his minions will continue to have the ability to really play on people's minds. All those white women that voted for Trump, they're not bad women. Okay? They're not bad women, but they were instilled with information that really awoken their fears. Like I told the people on the radio in the morning, I am not going to sit down there and hate people because, well, you know, you are white and you voted for Trump just because you would never vote for a black Indian woman. I'm not going to do that. You see, I know race is a stupid thing. I know that the gene that makes you believe you have a particular of some racial identity is a stupid thing that makes one dumb. You know, the plutocrats know better. For them, money is green. They do whatever is necessary to blow things apart. And Trump was successful in doing that. Trump was successful in making it seem like this very smart woman, a woman that is orders of magnitude, and I said it, orders of magnitude smarter than he was. A woman that has a much better talking ability than he has. A woman that is intellectually superior to him. He was able to let everybody not see that because of the color of the lens that they had on and the equation that they have. And the other thing is, women to this date, women continue to believe in the aggregate, not educated women, not very educated women, but a group of women still believe that leadership is defined by a penis. And it's a shame. There's this index, and I think I made the video. I need to go find it and prepare it again. But there's this video that ask if a woman could run America, run America. Here they asked it in September, and believe it or not, American women. This is pathetic. Only 48% of American women thought it was okay for a woman to run the country. When I saw the number, actually I was on MSNBC a couple of days ago, and I think I taped it. I got to look to see if I have it recorded. Otherwise, I have to go back and it was too hard to find. But I sat back and I wanted to cry because it made me remember. Any of you ever watched Sanford and Son? Sanford and Son, the junk collector that resell junk and all of that, and his son Lamont. And I remember this program was there to show the stupidity in our minds and the self-hate that we have, right? There's self-hate in the Black community. There's self-hate in the Latino community. There's self-hate in the female community. I'll tell you a little story. Latinos won't tell you this, but we talk about it in Spanish all of the time. You know, when you see a Latin woman, a Latina or a Latino guy, right? He goes ahead and he's going to find a mate. And let's say he happens to fall in love with a white woman, or the woman fall in love with the white man. The older Latinos used to have a phrase that they used. And I'm going to say it in Spanish and then translate it to English. They'll be talking to their relatives and otherwise. Sí, mi corazón. ¿Sabe que Sandria se va a casar? Está mejorando la raza. And that's how they would speak, right? And what did I say there? This is a conversation with a relative talking about her daughter or whatever, finding a mate. And they're talking about the mate and said, oh, Rich, who she's married? Oh, she's improving the race. And what improving the race meant was she got a white guy or he got a white girl. That is in the Latin culture. Okay, Latino culture. It's not something that's often spoken about. But it's not all that different in every minority culture. Because everybody strives to be that of the majority. Not everybody. The uneducated strive to be that of the majority. But I was watching I was watching the Sanford and Son episode, and this one almost, it brought back memories because as a Black engineer going into the field, when I know it was so hard to earn respect, people thought I was there for, they thought I was there for affirmative actions, but I did know my shit. But they thought I was there for affirmative action, right? And I remember always having to perform, always having to do so much. But this one here had to do with a dentist. Sanford and Son goes into the dental chair. He has a real bad sense of bad teeth. His teeth is doing really, really bad. And it turned out that what he said, the doctor, who is a Black doctor that he's seen, says, oh, your teeth are real bad, and Sanford is uncomfortable. He's very uncomfortable. And he says to the doctor, are you sure? Are you sure? And the guy said yes. And he said, I want to see somebody else. I want to see somebody else. And what he really meant is that he wanted to see the white dentist that was there. Sanford wanted to see the white dentist. Sanford is a Black guy. And the white dentist comes in. And he looks at Sanford and he said, "Oh my God, Mr. Sanford, your teeth are really, really bad. I am going to have to get the expert, my boss. I've got to get the expert, my boss, to do it." And he said, okay, go get your boss. And who walks in is the same black doctor that came in before. And Sanford is in a panic now. Oh my God. It turns out that this is a guy who had the expertise. That I saw that back in the 80s, I believe. I saw that skit back in the 80s. And that left an indelible impression on me because it was like, my God, self-hate is a bad thing. But that is what white supremacy and patriarchy does to one. That is what's actually happening. So we have to really be cognizant of what's really going on in society. We have to be cognizant of all these issues. Let me do one thing really. Espera hasta las 3. Hasta las 3. Okay, look. Let me tell you this, folks. Let me tell you this. Until we get our heads together, and this isn't just about minorities having that issue. It is about white women. It's about white men. The fears. It's about all of that. And we have to be okay with that. Anyway, look, I don't have any more videos. Tomorrow I am heading off to my uncle's memorial. It's on Friday, and Ashley and I fly tomorrow. So I'm going to have a new program for you. Brand new program for you tomorrow and Friday. But I want you to still come and have your fun and interact. If I'm at the airport and I'm on at the time, I'll check in with my phone when we're, if I can do it live. But know that you're going to get new programming on Thursday and Friday. Thank you, Gene. But look, I got to cut this early because there's somebody at the door that I need to speak to. So I'm going to shut us down a bit early and just ask you one thing. Please support the program. How do you support the program? Support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please sign up and become paid members. That would really help out in us getting things done. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.